Good afternoon. I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News, coming to you from our digital desk. We're about to take you to a news conference being held by the Cleveland Division of Police. This is in regards to the multitude of car break-ins that have been plaguing the city over the last, we've been covering it for at least 6 months. It has gotten to be a problem to where they had to come up with the STANCE was the name of this, the Street and Nuisance Crime Enforcement Initiative. Chief Todd is giving us an update. Let's take you there live.
Okay. Everybody ready? Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out today. We're here to give a couple updates. One of my goals was to talk about the new detail that we had formed, the STANCE officers, and then also to give an update on some overnight car break-ins. One of the things that we've seen over the course of about a month are a substantial increase in car break-ins in neighborhoods just like this where we're here today. What we're finding from video that we've seen is groups of young people that are driving around sometimes or a lot of times in stolen vehicles, and they're going through these neighborhoods and they're just breaking car windows. And then they lean into the cars, it takes a matter of seconds, and then they get back in the car, then they're off to the next. Throughout this, we've made several arrests. You know, over the course of the last couple months, we've made probably close to 30 arrests related to these car break-ins. And this was mostly involving, young people. As part of our initiative, I had started what we called our STANCE detail, and that was for street and nuisance crime enforcement. And the goal of this was taking officers who work in our 5 police districts and creating a detail to go around to address these type of nuisance crimes. And what we saw last summer with street takeovers and also just the car meetups, we had details in place, and these were nuisance crimes that were affecting a large amount of our city. So this was started to address the street takeovers, to address the car break-ins, and any other crime that is impacting our neighborhoods. Because what we're seeing is this is not just one particular area, this is something that's happening across the city. And we wanted to make sure that we were using a data-driven model to address these crimes. So we put this in place to partner with our Real-Time Crime Center and our crime analysts to really track what's happening citywide and how we can address this. Since they've been out, they have done really great proactive work. They've arrested juveniles in the middle of breaking into vehicles. They stopped an aggravated robbery. They've written several citations. And they're also writing curfew summons, the curfew for the parents who these juveniles are out, during these overnight hours. So this has really been a proactive approach to addressing these crimes. But again, last night, we found that there were car break-ins in several areas of the city. We had at the West Tech Lofts over in the 1st District, the apartment complex, they saw several car break-ins, and then several here throughout the 2nd District, including right where we're at. And if you look outside here at West 29th and Church, we have a trailer camera. It's a big camera that captures the video footage for what's happening in this neighborhood. It's got a big blue flashing light, and even with our trailer camera here capturing this, these vehicle break-ins are still happening. And what we're finding a lot of times is it's just left damage to these vehicles. A lot of times nothing is even taken from the vehicles, but our residents are coming out and they're impacted. It's cold outside. Now you have a broken window on your vehicle. You can't go where you need to go, and it's just unacceptable. So I want the community to be aware that we are continuing to change our methods as we see changes and what's happening, and we are going to keep making adjustments to our STANCE unit, but also our frontline officers. They are still out there They're still proactively patrolling these areas, and we are going to continue to address these issues that are impacting our community. And we have to hold the individuals accountable for what's happening. We've partnered with juvenile court. They've been great partners with us on addressing these issues, on making sure that when we make these arrests, they're accepting the juveniles at the detention home. This is an all-of-government approach, an all-of-community approach, and we also need the community's help to keep a watchful eye on what's happening. And if something does happen in your neighborhood, check your cameras. See if you've captured anything. Additional footage could be helpful for what we're doing. So we want to make sure that everybody is a part of this and people are talking to each other, but they're also letting us know what they're seeing. So with that, I will take any specific questions on this. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, yes, Jennifer Jordan from Fox State News. Since stands have been created, how many arrests have been made?
So I can give you a little, it's a little outdated numbers, but I know that they have made, this was in the first week that they were operational. So we started them on October 31st. They had made 4 felony arrests, 2 juvenile felony arrests, totaling 6 there, and they've also issued several citations and also curfew summons.
Are these the same group of kids that are doing this? Have you had repeat offenders, or is it different people every time?
A lot of times we are connecting them. Sometimes it is repeat offenders, but a lot of times they're connected to the same associates, so they are all known to each other in a lot of the circumstances.
Do you know what's driving this spike in prison?
I wish I had that answer, but I can tell you it's not just happening here. There's cities, all major cities are having the same experience. What we find when we're seeing crime trends like this, whether it be, the car takeovers, any of these trends, they're not just a Cleveland trend. They happen nationwide in the urban cities. So this is, impacting a lot of our cities across the United States.
What are we looking at for punishment for seems to be the same offenders, as you guys said in the press conference last week, that the same offenders are coming in. So are we looking at more larger punishment for them?
So that's part of our partnership with the county prosecutor's office and as well as juvenile courts. Normally, when you look at these crimes as an individual crime, if we were arresting them for one individual crime, it would be a misdemeanor. But because we are incorporating it all as many crimes, together, it escalates that. So I'm hopeful in the prosecution portion of what the outcomes will be in juvenile court.
Residents were you're walking your car, you guys have these cameras up, and cars are still getting in. I guess what's your response to people who maybe feel like police maybe aren't even responding efficiently enough?
I can tell you. Sorry. So when we look at our, how we're responding to this, we can't be everywhere all at the same time. That's why we have technology. That's why we have our cameras. That's why we're looking at that. That's why we're partnering with the Real-Time Crime Center. Every time we move, they move. It's not that they're, the officers are tracking them. They're using our license plate readers. So they are following them throughout the city when these crimes are occurring as well. So when they know that there's been an area hit, the officers who are proactively out there are following them throughout the city. So it's not necessarily about response times, but a lot of times when you see this happen, people are sleeping, and nobody knows it happens until the next morning. So it's not reported. That's why we're asking the community to make sure they're keeping a watchful eye. If they hear something, just check to see if you see something, and if it's something suspicious, to let us know. Because a lot of times we don't find out that these crimes occurred until the next morning when someone goes out to their vehicle.
You mentioned break. I'm sorry.
People that I've spoken with are not happy about your response times, specifically when people
So when we look at each individual complaint, if there's a complaint specific, then we will look at that and we will do an evaluation on, what if there was a delay for service or how the call was categorized. And a lot of times what you see, dependent on if it's a single call, multiple calls, the dispatchers evaluate those calls, and that's how they are categorized for officer response. But we can, I know that you had some specific questions about
Are you
certain
evaluating
incidents.
the Highview Drive incident where a 15-year-old was killed? Calls came in for an hour, and then when the shooting happened, it took another hour before police showed up.
I will get to the specifics on that incident, because what we do is we work with our dispatchers on exactly what our response was to make sure everything is accurate, so I will get that back for you.
And we looked at some data from 6 months on response times. Many took over a half hour for priority 1. Hundreds took over an hour. Is that acceptable?
I can tell you that, no, it's not acceptable, but I can tell you that our officers, a lot of times when you see something, especially when it's in the warmer months, when officers are on high priority assignments, and there's several that happen at the same time, it does make it challenging. And part of what the supervisors do is they monitor those calls, and they, continually check with our dispatchers for updates so that they know how to properly control and which cars, which priority is the most important at that time. So it can get challenging. One of the officers or supervisors I spoke to a couple days ago, they called it the perfect storm, because I asked about a delay in a call, and they said it was a perfect storm. At the same time that this occurred, we had a shooting here, we had an overturned vehicle here, and we had to reach out for assistance from another district because multiple things were happening at the exact same time.
So is it an officer shortage?
When we talk about our deployment of our frontline officers, we have a set car plan that we have to stick to. And that a lot of times includes, overtime for the officers or mandates to cover those shifts.
You mentioned that cars are being damaged. How many vehicles are actually being stolen and possibly used for other purposes?
So a lot of times we find that the incidents like this, there is a stolen car that's used. Sometimes that car comes from our city. Sometimes it's stolen from a different city. I don't have the exact number of our auto thefts, but a lot of times they will use the same vehicle multiple times. And, we still see a lot of those are Kias. We're seeing a lot of that is the particular vehicle that they're using in these crime sprees.
And Chief, you mentioned curfew summons. Are there other tools or ways to hold parents accountable who have kids that are committing these crimes?
So at this time, we are also talking with our prosecutor's office about that. What other measures can we take for accountability for the parents? But at this time, we are, taking a proactive response on juveniles who are out after curfew and who are, committing these crimes. We're making sure that there's some accountability for parents as well.
Chief, what do you tell people, especially on these quality of life issues, that they may not call because they may think it's going to take forever or no one's going to show up? What do you tell people?
You have to call. That is the most important thing. How we, when we look at these quality of life issues, we have measures in place for making sure how we deploy and how we investigate. And the stance detail is just that. We find crimes that are impacting a large number of the community. We don't have all the answers. We wish we did. But we are trying every measure we can. And a lot of what we do is about our technology. Our technology is so crucial to what we do. If we didn't have the capabilities of the cameras to capture the footage, the license plate readers that help us track these vehicles, our real-time crime center, which helps us to look and monitor these areas as much as possible as well. But it impacts everyone, and we need to know what's happening in the neighborhoods. That's the most important thing. So if you see who I have with me today, these are our district commanders. These are, representatives from all 5 of our police districts, as well as our technology section and our deputy chiefs. So we're representing the entire city here to make sure that you see our commitment to help the community to resolve these issues, to make sure that they feel safe. All right. Thank you so much.
Dan DeRose with 19 News. As Chief Todd gives an update and really a show of force, you can see quite a bit of her command staff was in attendance. That was by design, let's be honest, to show that they are trying to get a handle on this problem. Juveniles, most of the time using stolen cars, running around the city of Cleveland and smashing out windows. As you heard, they're just kind of doing this for fun. They're not even in most cases stealing anything. She said they may lean into the vehicle, see if there's anything, but in most cases they're not picking vehicles that look like they have items in it. They're just rolling around, smashing windows. She did say that now that they are really investing some resources into this, 30 arrests, 6 of those have been felony arrests. And you heard her say they stopped an aggravated robbery in progress, a part of this STANCE team, the Street and Nuisance Crime Enforcement Team that's been out there, but still no real answers as to how do we stop this, because it continues. It happened again last night in the Ohio City neighborhood, right in front of one of the police cameras, and these juveniles just didn't care. You did hear they need to work with the prosecutor's office, maybe get the parents to face some consequences in this when they're handing out curfew violations. We'll have a complete update on this and all of the day's news when we start 3.5 hours of news and weather at 3 o'clock on Channel 19. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News. Have a good day.